Welcome back. Well, if you live with or work with someone who suffers from migraine, or if you suffer from the disease yourself, it's important to understand that a migraine is much more than just a headache. In fact, migraine is a neurological disease with debilitating symptoms that simply cannot be ignored given the impact on daily life, especially when living through a global pandemic. Mary Franklin is the executive director of the National Headache Foundation, and she's joining us to discuss how people are living with this invisible disease. Welcome, Mary.
Well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. You know, I think people who do live with this are debilitated. It's something that's really difficult. You guys just did a survey recently with the National Headache Foundation. What are you finding from that survey in terms of how people are living with and dealing with migraines?
Well, it's an overall picture of how they're handling it. One of the responses that was sad for me to find out is that 93% feel that they are misunderstood, and about 53% feel that they are a burden to their families, their friends, and their colleagues. And then 29% felt that their treatment was not being helpful to them. So those were clues that we should be working harder and helping folks deal with migraine.
Well, let's kind of break some of that down. Why do you think it is that people feel misunderstood or they feel like a burden on their family, their friends, or their colleagues?
Sure. Well, unless you've had a migraine attack, you don't know what it feels like. And the important thing to remember, if anything, from today is migraine is not just a headache. It's a cavalcade of symptoms. They may have nausea, vomiting, dizziness, sensitivity to light and sound. They may have brain fog where they have trouble finding their words. That's frightening. So you put all those symptoms together and you can't function at your best capacity. So they miss work, they can't take care of their kids, they can't socialize, they can't go to graduation parties, birthdays. So someone else has to take the reins. Someone else is going to have to assume responsibility. And that's why they feel like they're a burden, because they have to ask someone to watch their kids or handle the birthday party or handle the project at work. So this is all impacting on them. And migraine is an invisible disease. You can't see it, you can't measure it. So unless you've had it, or you've lived with someone that has it, you don't really know the full impact on someone's life.
I'm glad you mentioned the invisible part, too, because I do think you're right. If you're not somebody who suffers, I don't get migraines, but I do get motion sick. And when I do, I get some of those symptoms. And so I know how tough it is.
Sure.
And a lot of times people don't believe you. They're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, just close your eyes. Oh, drink some water, whatever it may be. So I think there are a lot of misunderstandings about people, especially if they themselves have not had one. What are some of the things that you feel as an advocate for someone who really works with people who suffer from the disease? What are some of the findings from the survey and other things that you thought were most surprising?
Well, I think the overall feeling of misunderstanding. I think we all aware, if you're into headache advocacy, you know the impact it has on family life and also on workplace. Too often, and for generations, migraine and headaches have been considered a joke. Take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. Not tonight, honey. It's not been viewed as a serious neurological disease. And it's about time we start doing that. And it tells us how much work has to be done in raising awareness in the public and making accommodations for those with migraine disease.
So true. And I think a lot of people feel like it's an excuse people use, and it's not. It's very serious.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for someone who's getting a migraine on something that they can do to hopefully mitigate it if they don't have a medication at hand?
Right. I think the important thing is to get an appropriate diagnosis and also monitor your headaches, identify triggers. Maybe it's something you ate, maybe you didn't get enough sleep, Are you overslept? Maybe you missed a meal or fasted. All of those things can help you prevent the number of attacks if you don't have medication. Another thing is using alternative therapies, biofeedback, meditation, yoga, to help you as an adjunct to any prescribed therapies. But the danger is that you haven't gotten an appropriate diagnosis. You think it's a sinus headache or a tension headache, but migraine's much more serious.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mary. We appreciate it. You can learn more by going to headaches.org. We'll be right back.